Nice. Alright, 2 out of 3 is not bad. Because this is shiny and brand new for me. Oh no, I have the other 2 pieces. I didn't know that. Holy shit, that's awesome. Despite the object's eggs, the minuscule aspect of the means action to be in perfect working order. We should take care when handling it, though. Million, please resist the urge to take it apart. Oh, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Preview. A little creepy, but love it. Alright. Now, just to make sure I don't have anything. Okay. Alright. Okay, those are good, guys. For a second there, I was like, wait! And then I was like, well, no, I'm at a way shrine. I don't have any of the fishies here. And my XP scroll is off. I'm not going to do the fishing yet. We're going to dispel these warts first.
Was a bit of a warm-up.
Heck yeah.
Nice hole. Quite the mummy. big family, you have to know how to scrap.
Die, motherfuckers!
Get back, you betcha!
Anything cool in here? Let's check it out. No, I actually made it. I didn't think I would. I just want to get all the way to the top. Ta-da! Alright. Let's get down. Alright.
I hope you're watching.
Alrighty.
Don't be scared. I'm a friend. I think. Oh my gosh, I was right. You're trying to fix Ulfsild's library. You're trying to talk to the Griffin, aren't you? I am so sorry about tearing all the pages out of that book. I got excited. Oh, that happens sometimes. And it's what I'm good at. The stealing, I mean.
That's fair.
Let's start over. I'm the fox. Ulfsild said one day people might try to break in. When I saw you sniffing around, I thought I'd try and protect my friend.
Aw, you're such a good boy.
That's why I stopped hiding. When I got close, I could smell the Indrik on you. If the Indrik thinks you're good, then you're good. That guy knows good.
Fair
I
enough.
see now I was just holding you back. Let me make it up to you. About that, I took quite the mouthful of pages. And then I dropped one when your friend, Nalia, was it? Oh, when she saw me. So, I thought it best to hide the other pages near the other wards. Good news, though. I hid one right here.
No, you're such a good boy. Transfer. Alright.
Great.
Right.
I've got my own way to get about. I'll see you at the next location.
Okay, oh, you're such a good boy. However, we are gonna take a break. Do some fishing. damn it, where are all the fishy spots? Did somebody fish them all up?
Nothing wrong with a little opportunistic harvesting.
This is not opportunistic harvesting. Look, I'm just trying to find fishing. Yay, fishing.
I'm still here. I really don't like your odds.
Okay, we're going over here. And then we gotta do this real quick. Ugh, I wish there was a quick button to equip these. I also gotta think about what I want to eat. I don't think I want to actually cook tonight. My hand keeps going numb and it's very uncomfortable. And cooking is not gonna help with that. Yeah, that's taking a minute. Jeez. Trying to think of what I have that is easy to heat up. Wow, okay, I got like 2 of them. Okay. I appreciate you, game. And 2 wax anti-sacks? Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, we'll fish out this spot and then I will probably start dinner. We'll put on just, you know, a little quick episode of the Click, or maybe something funny from somebody else. See if maybe Clint has a short 20-minute video out. Oh wow, okay, that fished out way faster than I thought it would. Oh, sorry, kitty.
Moving.
I can't tell. Okay, no. Alright. we're gonna log out and we're gonna do Din Din real quick. Oh, I sold a thing. Wow. Okay, I sold that super fast. Sick. Okay, so I know those are worth something in the future. What did I get? Oh, some more Abba's Watch stuff. I could have sworn I just saw something say like Dwarven. Dwarven oil. Okay, maybe it was Dwarven oil. Alright. Oh, I forgot to put that back up. We're gonna do a BRB. Removing my facey face. Go to just chatting. Right, we'll do that with Twick, and then do this, and then unmute. We'll begin the cab, but we're not gonna watch that. Okay, we are gonna watch that, but okay. Alright, okay, there's a bunch of shit that's popped up that's really cool, but not what I'm looking for. Clint? Okay, that's also probably gonna be funny as fuck. That's cute. Why is... Okay, we're just gonna... There we go. Okay.
Well, hi there.
There's our start.
This is a thorny devil, one of the craziest looking animals in the world. And this is a horned lizard. Both of these are spiky little ant-eating lizards, and yet the thorny devil is more closely related to this than it is to a horned lizard. Same thing goes for this. It's more closely related to a chameleon than it is to this. This isn't an anole. Yep, it's closer to chameleons too. This isn't an anole either, but it does fly, or at least fall with style. And this isn't a Dilophosaurus. Nor did Dilophosaurus have a frill like that. In other words, this is a lizard that is so cool that movie makers thought that they could improve one of the coolest dinosaurs that ever existed by making them a little bit more like it. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because other than Dilophosaurus, all of these animals fall into the hyper-diverse clade Iguania. And yes, it also includes iguanas, as well as things like this, and this, and of course, these. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know I've been carrying my Raycon Everyday earbuds for the last several months, and I love them. I really, I don't go anywhere without them. I use them all the time. I'm always listening to something. I very rarely have time to sit down and watch something, but I listen to something while I'm working with reptiles and commuting, and my earbuds, they're with me all the time now. Well, Raycon has improved upon them. Considerably, I might add. After selling more than 3 million really amazing earbuds, they said, let's make them better. And so they made them way better. They've added active noise cancellation, which I have noise canceling gigantic headphones, and I love that experience. It's the only thing I really was missing when I moved to these, though it was still a no-brainer to use these virtually all the time. Well, now they've got that as well. And then on top of that, they've got multi-point connectivity, which means that you can have it synced to multiple devices simultaneously, which is important because if you've got active noise cancellation turned on, you can turn it off, but if you've got it on, you're not going to hear anything that isn't synced up to your earbuds, and so you can sync it up to your computer and your phone and any other devices you need all at the same time, which is an amazing new feature. So somehow they've taken what are already my favorite earbuds in the world and made them way better. These have always charged quickly, and the battery honestly lasts forever, but now they charge even faster and the battery lasts even longer, 32 hours on a single charge. Plus, you can charge them up for 90 minutes of use in just 10 minutes. And they're highly water resistant and sweat resistant, which is really, really important because you might be jogging with them, or just when you carry them in your everyday life and it rains, or who knows what you get into, haven't had a problem at all. If these seem like the right earbuds for you, and if they're not, I don't know what you're looking for. Click the link in the description box or go to
want a pair of Raycons
to get 15% off
I want
of your
some
Raycon purchase plus free shipping. That's
wanting them forever.
buyraycon.com/Clint. And remember, these are not only amazing, but they're very affordable as well. Plus, they've got a 30-day happiness guarantee. Now back to our show. The clade Iguania is composed of two separate clades, the Acrodonta and the Pleurodonta, which can most easily be differentiated by a close examination of their teeth, especially in a skull, where you can see clearly how the teeth attach themselves to the skull. In Lepidosaurs, there are two main ways that teeth attach to the skull. The simplest, and probably the weakest, is that the teeth are not anchored into the skull at all, but rather fused to the surface of the skull like the ossicones of a giraffe. These are called acrodont teeth. We see acrodont dentition in tuataras, like this one, though these aren't lizards, as well as some amphisbaenians and some snakes, which totally are lizards. At least if anything that we're discussing today are lizards. Then snakes and amphisbaenians, well, they are too. And acrodont dentition is probably, unsurprisingly, what is found in the Acrodonta. But there is another way. Most other lizards, like this Gila monster, have their teeth essentially in half sockets, as in the teeth are in little bone channels. The outer surface of the tooth root is fused to bone, but the tongue side portion of the root is only secured by ligaments and is totally visible when looking at the bones without the tissue. So it's like a half socket. And this half socket dentition is called pleurodont. And if you had to guess which form of dentition the Pleurodonta possess, well, let's just say I will be unimpressed if you can't guess correctly. Altogether, the Iguania are the closest living relatives to the Anguimorpha, such as monitor lizards, Gila monsters, and their relatives that we discussed in this video. And after that, their closest living relatives are snakes. So they are more closely related to snakes than they are to lizards like tegus, skinks, or geckos. Which is why you can't make a clade that includes iguanians and any of those that doesn't include the snakes. That's why snakes are lizards. And we have a video about all of them as well. But right now, I really want to talk about the Pleurodonta because I have a big question about this group. This entire clade is found almost exclusively in the Americas. But then there is this iguana, which is found only in Fiji, which I think I understand. There is a straight path from the Americas to Fiji.
See here? Yeah. This is us. And all the way around here, Fiji.
The wind even blows from the east at that latitude. The ocean currents go that way. They probably got to Fiji in about the same way that the amphisbaenids got to South America from Africa, by rafting. It's a pretty straight shot from South America to Fiji. But that isn't my big question, because there is a whole family of pleurodontan lizards endemic to Madagascar. That means that they would not only need to raft from South America to Fiji, a voyage that is already nearly prohibitively long.
You can't get any further away before you start coming back.
But they would need to start coming back. They would need to miss Fiji, which isn't hard to do, but also New Caledonia, Australia, and one of the densest large conglomerations of islands anywhere on the planet. And then extend their journey that has already gone all the way across the Pacific Ocean, all the way to the other side of the world, and they would have to continue all the way across the Indian Ocean as well. The distance from Fiji to Madagascar is actually greater than the distance from the Americas to Fiji. So it would more than double the journey, all the while with minimal food and next to no access to fresh water. This journey would take the better part of a year. So if this is what happened, how did this happen? And if this isn't what happened, how did they get to Madagascar? And given that the pleurodontan lizards are some of the most amazing and common lizards on the side of the earth where I most frequently reside, it seems like a good place to start. But don't worry, I won't forget to talk about chameleons. I can forget a lot of things, but chameleons aren't one of those things. But this lizard is one that I have been seeing a lot in my recent trips to Florida. These are members of the family Leocephalidae, the curly-tailed lizards, though their scientific name means smooth-headed. And they do have pretty smooth heads, but man, if you spend any time at all watching these lizards and that was your takeaway, you were really focused on their heads the whole time. Because they run around with their tails curled up over their bodies virtually always. It's sort of like the tail of a chameleon, but it curls up instead of down. And the reason that it curls is actually a whole lot less obvious. Though it seems to have something to do with discouraging predators, or at least making the tail a more conspicuous target, as they do it more often when a predator is present than when one is not. The 23 or so species of curly-tailed lizards are all found in the Caribbean islands, and they are the most distantly related family in all of the Pleurodonta. It looks like they diverged away from the other members of the clade more than 90 million years ago during the Cretaceous. Which means that when the non-avian dinosaurs went extinct, the ancestors of curly-tailed lizards had already been on their own path for more than 20 million years. It also gives us an upper limit as to when the other groups would have diversified. Since this is the basal-most family, the rest have to have diversified since then. But 90 million years ago, the trip from the southern tip of South America to Madagascar was not nearly as long as it is today. In fact, I think there's a decent chance that the winds and currents could have taken something on a straight and comparatively way short path to Madagascar without ever going anywhere near Fiji. So I'm excited to see if this has anything to do with how the members of the Pleurodonta got there. But if the curly tail and smooth head aren't enough for you to identify curly-tailed lizards, then their overlapping scales and lack of femoral pores, these little pores on the upper legs along the femur of many lizard species, especially in males, well, they ain't got them. So 90 million years, that's when the hagfish of Pleurodontans broke away from the rest of the clade. The next most distantly related members of the Pleurodonta are probably the best known family in the clade. In fact, if you could name just one family in all of Iguania, it'd probably be this one, the family Iguanidae, which is a totally rad family that includes all sorts of iguanas. In the past, it included a whole lot of other groups as well. It was just honestly a garbage bin of Pleurodontan lizards. And while many of these groups that were previously classified as iguanids are now classified as being, well, their closest relatives, there are still nearly 50 species of iguanas that I would call true iguanas in the family Iguanidae, including this little guy, which is probably the most surprising member of the family. It's pretty much the only one without iguana in its common name. Most people are surprised when I tell them that this lizard, the infamous Chuckwalla, the only lizard known to frighten Chuck Norris, and a lizard not to be chucked with, lest you find out, or so I have read, is an iguana. Though they're much less surprised when I mention how much its head looks like that of a marine iguana. And while the Chuckwalla is more closely related to marine iguanas than marine iguanas are to, say, desert iguanas, Cyclura iguanas, like rhinoceros iguanas, or the 4 species of Fijian iguanas, their closest relatives are the 2 members of the genus Iguana. So the Chuckwalla is firmly and unquestionably a true iguana, despite the fact that they lack the dorsal spines and dewlaps that are very common across the group. Hard to jam those things between rocks, though. They also lack the whip-like tail and super sharp claws present in many of the other members of the group. Now let me tell you, you think you know iguanas. Like, you probably know about green iguanas. But what about the other member of their genus, the lesser Antillean iguana? You probably know about marine iguanas and rock iguanas, perhaps desert iguanas. But have you ever seen one of these before? Or this? Iguanas are amazing. They really need their own video. But that last one, while it is called an iguana, is not actually part of the Iguanidae. So just to reiterate, Chuckwallas are totally iguanas, no question. But this, whatever it is not an iguana. At least, it's not an iguanid. And I don't think that chameleons are iguanas. I've never heard anybody claim that. Though I am frequently asked if my bearded dragons are iguanas, and they're no more iguanas than are chameleons. But unless chameleons are iguanas, then being in the Iguania is not enough to call something an iguana. So I guess the question is, are all iguanas iguanids? Or is it possible that this thing is a true iguana too? Well, the 10 remaining families of Pleurodontans are more closely related to one another than they are to the family Iguanidae. Which means that if iguana is a true iguana, which I assume that it is, and any member of these other 10 families, then all of the members of these other 10 families must be iguanas as well. And these 10 remaining families are nested in 2 major clades, one with 3 families and one with 7. And I'm super excited about both of them. But I'll start with the smaller clade because it contains lizards that can run on water, as well as this lizard that we found in Peru,
The Jesus lizard!
that I had never seen before in my life, the Amazon forest dragon. One of the 20 species in the family Hoplocercidae from Central and South America. These lizards are frequently called dwarf iguanas for reasons that seem perfectly reasonable, at least assuming that they are actually iguanas. They are relatively small but robust little lizards with strong vertebral crests. They are also often called wood lizards and even dragons, though dragon is usually reserved for the family Agamidae that we'll be discussing shortly. That said, they really remind me of mountain horned dragons. One species even has horns. They're just found on the wrong side of the world, and, well, their teeth are all wrong. Some have spiked tails, with the most extreme example found on the spiny weapon tail.
That is a weapon tail, yeah.
Like these lizards. And if I hadn't gone to the Amazon or made this video, I could have easily gone my whole life without ever even knowing that they existed. Good thing I did both of those things. And thanks to Lepidosaur 2024, we can know every lizard family on the planet by the end of this year.
Yay.
So happy Lepidosaur 2024. The closest relatives of these dwarf iguanas are two of the coolest families of lizards anywhere. The family Crotophytidae, the collared lizards, and Corydophanidae, the basilisks. You tell me which one of these two is coolest. I'll start with the collared lizards because I recently learned something surprising about them. That isn't to say that it didn't make a ton of sense. I just never heard this before. So here in Utah, we have collared lizards. They are one of the coolest lizards in the state, and that's saying a lot. We have a ton of red lizards. Now, this is an unusual family in this clade, as it is found exclusively in North America, mostly in the desert, and is carnivorous with vertebrates making up a non-trivial portion of their diet. Not what you normally think of when you think of an iguana. They also have no spines or dewlaps or anything like that. And there are about 9 species of collared lizards in the genus Crotophytus. But what I didn't realize was that there is a second genus in the family. A genus of lizards that are also on my list of raddest lizards in Utah, the genus Gambelia, the 3 species of leopard lizards. I mean, in retrospect, they act and look basically like collared lizards. They just don't have a collar. And that is why molecular phylogenetics is so valuable. It is so easy to get hung up on something conspicuous to your subjective senses and totally overlook all of the other evidence that would have more accurately informed your understanding. Oh, and just because it's rad, crotophytid lizards often run on 2 legs, like Tyrannosaurus rex. You gotta admit that's rad. And something that they very much have in common with their closest relatives, the 11 species of basilisks, helmeted, and casqueted iguanas in the family Corydophanidae, found from Mexico to Ecuador, which are only iguanas if collared lizards and leopard lizards are as well, which isn't an obvious sell to me, but maybe they're just the oddballs of the group. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a helmeted iguana before, but how cool is that? As a group, this family is all kind of wiry, fast-running lizards that generally can also run on 2 legs, and in some cases, right over the surface of water. There's even a great song about it if you ever get a chance to watch this video. They are generally great climbers that live in forests and often have elaborate crests on their heads, backs, and tails, especially in males. And they can't drop their tails. I like that about them. And that brings us to the larger clade of potential iguanas. And remember, for helmeted iguanas to be true iguanas, then not only do the dwarf iguanas and collared lizards need to be iguanas, but also everything in this other clade as well. Because all 10 of these families are more closely related to one another than they are to the iguanids. Now, the family most closely related to the other 6 in this second clade is the family Tropiduridae. Odds are that you have never heard of this family. But this thing, the glorious green thorny tail iguana, it's one. As are some of the coolest lizards that we found in Peru, such as the olive tree lizard and the collared tree lizard, and one of the lizards that I was most hoping to find during our adventure, the western leaf lizard, which we did find. And if you've never seen a tropidurid before, it's probably because you've never been to South America, or you didn't spend nearly enough time wandering around looking for lizards, because they are fairly common there. but are only found in South America and its associated islands like Trinidad and the Galapagos. Because it is difficult for eggs to incubate at high altitudes, the fact that many of the members of this family are live bearers has allowed them to be some of the few lizards that you find high in the Andes Mountains. They are found in desert locations, jungles, on islands, in the trees, and on the ground. Iguanids may be the most famous lizards in the Galapagos, but there are way more endemic tropidurids. The remaining 6 families in the Pleurodonta fall into 2 clades of 3 families each, and they are, altogether, the closest relatives of the Tropiduridae. And I don't know which clade we should discuss first. They both contain some rad iguanas, but this clade contains this lizard. This is a monkey anole, also called a forest iguana. But is that true? We've done a video on them in the past. We did find one in the Amazon. And while we're collectively trying to decide if it's actually an iguana, I have heard on many occasions that it isn't an anole. Well, that's reason enough for me to start there. Even though that will mean that we will have to wait a moment longer before we can find out how those dang Malagasy iguanas ever got to Madagascar. But don't worry, you'll be glad we started here, because the family least closely related to the other 2 in this clade is the family Phrynosomatidae. And this family is definitely going to need its own video in the future. It is also a family that I think really throws a wrench into the "these are all iguanas" narrative, because it contains things like this. Horned lizards, some of the most charismatic and grumpy looking lizards on the planet. And these, side-blotched lizards, which have 3 different types of males, just for the record, and a lot of other common lizards here in Utah, like these. And zebra-tailed lizards, which are the fastest lizards I have ever caught. They're just a blur. As well as earless lizards and California rock lizards that look a lot like collared lizards, but with partially covered ears, fringe-toed lizards, and many more. It's a rad group of mostly desert lizards found primarily in North America, but as far south as Panama. About 170 total species. They're some of the most common lizards that I see, so I'm really looking forward to digging into them. And just for the record, I will never run out of incredible animals to show you guys. I will just eventually run out of life. And if you want to help me to increase the amount of my life that I can devote to creating videos like this one, please consider supporting us on Patreon. That is legitimately the reason that you have seen such an increase in the depth and quality of our videos over the last few years. So thank you to all of you that have been supporting us, and for all of you that will in the future. You're making this happen. So our horned lizards, iguanas. While you're thinking about that, I will introduce you to the 2 families most closely related to the horned lizards and the other members of the family Phrynosomatidae. The family Polycrotidae, which is the family that includes this guy, and the family Dactyloidae, which are their closest relatives. Now, of course, for any of the other non-iguanids that we've been discussing to be iguanas, both of these families would need to be as well. So, what are they? Well, let's start with the monkey anole, which apparently is not an anole, but it is one of the 8 species in the family Polycrotidae, which are frequently called bush anoles. They're found in Central and South America, as well as many nearby islands. I can tell you that these are some seriously wonderful little lizards. And beautiful. They are very similar to anoles in many ways. They have a fairly similar body build, though their tails are probably a bit longer proportionally, and their faces a bit shorter, though still pointy. They have very similar eyes, which are a bit like those of chameleons, and they have very prominent flag-like dewlaps. It's not hard to see why they're often called anoles. That and the fact that their closest relatives are the anoles. The more than 425 species of unquestioned anoles in the family Dactyloidae are apparently the closest living relatives of the bush anoles, and vice versa. Not long ago, we discussed the fact that high-contrast Chinese bamboo bears are not pandas. And the reason that they are not pandas is because pandas, actual pandas, are much more closely related to all sorts of other things than they are to giant pandas. But if the closest relatives of pandas were these black and white bears, and vice versa, do you know what I think would be a totally reasonable name for them? Giant pandas. So are bush anoles actual anoles? I mean, they don't have to be. They're the hagfish of anoles. You can include them or not. But I'm certainly not going to correct anyone who calls a monkey anole from now on. Or a monkey anole, even though that's technically not the correct pronunciation. And that's even despite the fact that there's still some question about their relationship. But that's still not a panda. Slim Shady out. So let's talk about the unquestioned anoles. We found some beautiful anoles in Peru. I've found anoles in Alabama, Florida, and the Bahamas. You can probably name a few species, but as has been the case with many things here, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And there are well over 400 species in 8 genera, and they're found all over the warmer parts of the Americas. We definitely need to dive into this family in the future. I mean, just look at these. They can generally be identified by their long pointed faces, flag-like dewlaps, and gecko-like toes that allow them to cling to smooth surfaces. They're really special lizards. But the question is, of course, are they iguanas? And that gets us to the final 3 families in the Pleurodonta, and how some of the members of this clade managed to get to Madagascar. And the family most distantly related to the other 2 is the family Leolamidae, which is a family of beautiful lizards that you've probably never seen, at least before today, unless you live in South America. There are well over 300 species after all. They feed almost exclusively on fruits and vegetation. There were a lot of lizards unlike any I had previously seen that I caught when I lived in Mollendo, Peru, and on the island of Amantani. I didn't have any means of identifying them at the time, but I'm pretty sure that this is what they were. They're really common on the western coast of South America, and that's right where I was. And I will say, they were beautiful. I love them. But they aren't iguanas. I'm going to go ahead and say that all of the iguanas are in the Iguanidae. And all of their closest relatives are just iguana adjacent. And that includes the 2 closest relatives of the Leolamidae, the 34 species in the family Leosauridae of Central and South America, often called tree lizards, Patagonian lizards, fathead anoles, even though they aren't anoles, smooth steppe and big head iguanas, even though I'd say they aren't iguanas. But what they are really stocky, often big-headed, robust little lizards. And then the 8 species of Madagascan iguanas in the family Opleuridae, which are the ones we've been waiting to discuss. So all of these pleurodontan lizards have been from the Americas, except for the Fijian iguanas, which certifiably are iguanas, and these, which are not actually very closely related to the Fijian iguanas. And they live ridiculously far from both Fiji and the Americas. So how'd they get there? And when? Because the more recently this happened, the more insane this voyage becomes. Well, it appears that these Malagasy pleurodontans diversified from their closest American cousins about 60 million years ago. To my knowledge, we have no fossils of pleurodontans in Africa, though it is possible that they rafted to Africa and from Africa to Madagascar. That said, if it happened, there's no evidence of it. Similarly, they could have traveled to Antarctica, which at that time was not glaciated, and was full of South American taxa, as the 2 were in very close proximity. So they may have made their way up to Madagascar in a similar way to the way that marsupials got to Australia, though Australia was much closer to Antarctica than was Madagascar. We don't have many fossils from Antarctica for some reason, but this explanation, it doesn't even seem as likely as the Africa hypothesis. Honestly, the most likely explanation in my estimation is simply that they rafted directly from South America to Madagascar. It was at this time possible to travel in a straight line from South America to Madagascar, and given what ocean currents are like today, that seems very likely to have been what happened. Obviously, this is a pretty freak event, but we only have evidence that something like this has happened twice in the last 90 plus million years in the Pleurodonta. And I've got to tell you, you probably shouldn't buy lotto tickets. The chances that you will win are so small that it's just never going to happen. Well, not never. I mean, if you play every week for 90 million years, well, the odds that you will win a time or 2 are much more in your favor. So we have some pleurodontans in Madagascar, but they're not the only iguanians in Madagascar. Though I've never heard anybody call this an iguana. In fact, despite the fact that there are anoles called false chameleons, you're unlikely to confuse this with anything else. Chameleons are quite possibly the weirdest of all lizards. I mean, even snakes aren't that weird if you consider how many times leg loss and reduction has happened in Lepidosauria. But chameleons are delightfully bizarre. And almost half of the 200 or so species live in Madagascar, with the rest of them in and around Africa. However, to talk about them, we need to wander out of the Pleurodonta to the other clade of iguanian lizards, the Acrodonta. You know, the clade with the ossicone teeth. And while Acrodonta only contains 2 families, they are 2 absolutely amazing families, without a single species living in the Americas that wasn't introduced by humans. Both families are definitely weird and amazing enough to warrant their own videos. And the truth is that I don't know which family is cooler. I'm really gonna need your help deciding. So let's start with the chameleons of the family Chameleonidae. They're insane. Where do we start? Eyes, feet, tails, long tongues, or how tiny they can be? Let's just go in order. They have crazy eyes, like these. Actually, more like these. We've seen similar eyes in groups like the 2 Anole families. Their eyelids, top and bottom, are fused shut, with just a tiny opening through which the pupil can see. Their eyes can move independently of one another, allowing them to look in 2 very different directions all at the same time. And their brains can process that. And for their size, they have some of the best vision of any vertebrate. Visual acuity is based more on total eye size and not relative eye size, but they have the densest accumulation of cone cells in their eyes of any vertebrate on the planet. They are very visual, which is good because, like their cousins, the earless lizards, they have no external ears. They can hear, but like snakes, it isn't their strongest sense. And unlike snakes, smell isn't their strongest sense either. Their tongues are, well, otherwise occupied. But first, let's talk about their weird feet. They're seriously weird. And that was one of the major flaws with our chameleon skeleton. Its feet were not nearly weird enough. Chameleons have 5 toes on each foot. That's not that weird. But they functionally have just 2. Oppositely oriented toes. Their bodies are laterally compressed, like a sunfish, where most lizards are dorsoventrally compressed, like a stingray. And on each foot, they have 1 toe bundle that faces towards the body and 1 that faces away from the body. On their front feet, the body side toe bundle has 3 toes. On their back feet, the away side toe bundle has 3 toes. And this is a spectacular arrangement for holding onto branches. But that isn't their only tool for holding on. Most species have long prehensile tails that curl the opposite direction to that of the curly-tailed lizards. And they can hold onto a branch, extend their bodies, and reach for other faraway branches. They aren't jumpers. In fact, they do nothing fast, and they don't tend to take leaps. The only thing they do quickly is grab their prey. Something they can do from great distances thanks to their incredible projectile tongues that we discussed in this video. Snout to vent length, or the length of the body without the tail, is a common measure of size in many animals. And the tongue of most larger chameleons is 150 to 200% of the snout to vent length. In smaller chameleons, it's even longer. I can't wait to go into more detail about this when we do a full video about chameleons. Now, I said that smaller chameleons have proportionally longer tongues than larger chameleons. And the truth is that chameleons can be exceptionally small. Like one of the smallest of all known vertebrates kind of small. I mean, look at that. They also change color, more to indicate mood than to blend in. And changing color to communicate is something that they very much share with many of their closest relatives in the family Agamidae, which may not be as weird, but what it lacks in weirdness, it makes up for in pure diversity. In many ways, the Agamids alone fill in Africa, Asia, Europe, Australia, and countless islands in between all of the roles that the 12 families of pleurodontan lizards work together to fill in the Americas. There are 550 agamid species, so it isn't that shocking, I guess. But let's just look at a slideshow of agamid lizards, often simply called dragons, for just a moment.
So pretty.
I mean, you have fairly normal looking agamids that fill typical lizard roles. Basically the collared lizards of dragons, like the butterfly agamas and a ton of others. You have some anole-like agamids. The chuckwalla-like uromastics. The thorny devil is basically a horned lizard, except even more hardcore. Sailfin dragons kind of fill that large iguana role. And water dragons, that of the basilisk. I guess also maybe with the sailfin dragons. Plus there's some that fly, or at least fall with style. And toad-headed agamas are the lizard response to the sarcastic fringehead. Frilled dragons are cooler than dinosaurs, some would say. Forest and horned dragons look familiar. And that is just scratching the surface. We could spend a month in the Agamidae. And maybe someday we will. Agamid August. It's got a nice ring to it. But which of all these groups that we've discussed today should we dig into first? As always, like and subscribe. We'll see you real soon. Oh, that's the word yes.
Yes.
And yes.
Juice.
And juice. It also includes iguanas. Leo Cephalidae. Leo? How do you say L-E-I-O? I before E except after C, or when it has another vowel and it's part of a 3-vowel chain preceding a C. Not directly before the C, but on the other side of an O that is then followed by a C. Then you go L-E-I instead of L-I-E.
Yes, sure.
No further questions. Or when sounding like A is in neighbor and way. And on weekends and holidays and all throughout May, and you're wrong no matter what you say.
I wanted to make the...
Didn't know we were going to have a drag race.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm still not done eating. Jesus Christ, that's a 2-hour video. Here we go. Casual Geographic, real quick. Oh.
See this nest? You want to know what built this nest? You don't want to know what built this nest. You want to know what made these bones? You don't want to know what made these... This bird's a buckbeak-coated me to my mental stability. The harpy eagle is a homicidal hippogriff with the jungle census on its hit list. And a big reason is harpies having the largest claws of any bird. Not only do they have vice grip talons that could comfortably dap up a grizzly bear's paws, they say getting gripped by them is like getting caught in a Rottweiler's jaws. They're the national bird of Panama, but you finna be pantomiming once this Jurassic reject takes your breath. By crushing your windpipe, but by far the most out-of-pocket thing is what nature went ahead and did with their wings. Unlike most birds its size, harpy eagles have relatively short wings. I'm talking about if eagles were the NBA, this would be their build. But the short wings just means this life unsubscription service can duck and weave through the dense jungle to catch a body. Which also means there are very few things alive in the Amazon that a hunting harpy can't pack up, from monkeys and sloths, to armadillos, snakes, and porcupines, to other predators like ocelots and foxes. They'll also body other birds like parrots, and they'll even murk other raptors like vultures. But then, what even is a raptor? The answer might just surprise you. Raptors are what most people might call birds of prey, which is already a problem because there's plenty of other birds that'll have you preying. So the raptor title gets gatekept to the birds with all three: a sharp hooked beak, a Jurassic-style pedicure and talons, and an OP sense of sight. So without a hooked beak but webbed feet, the demonic garbage chute misses the cut. Chronic Crash Out the Canada Goose doesn't sit at the raptor lunch table because if it did, it probably would have seen that coming. But the whole raptor thing's a pain in the prostate, and it's because raptors, they're basically cats that can fly. You remember the cat video I made and how insanely convoluted the names got? Like how a black panther isn't actually an animal, a cat called a panther isn't actually a panther, a snow leopard is genetically closer to a tiger, and how a cougar pushing 220 ain't a big cat but a cat barely a $110 is. Raptors are low-key the same, where the name raptor doesn't describe a family reunion, but like Black Panther, raptor is more like a description. but I'm gonna get to that. Now, the other problem with raptors is that nature basically bamboozled them. Of course, the ability to fly is broken, but it comes with hollow bones. Now, hollow bones aren't to keep the bird light enough for flight. It's more that pneumatic bones are filled with air and so give extra oxygen to fuel their flight. But it also means a broken bone is a career-ending injury for an avian, and as hunters, they run the risk of getting folded by their own prey. The compromise is, raptors have some of the most heinously creative ways of confiscating consciousness, revoking your existence, whatever you want to call it. The bird of prey hunting strat is straight out of the pages of a mob boss's torture diary. And we can start with the secretary bird, aka Jurassic Park in yoga pants, named after the fact that, like a secretary, they'll connect you to the big boss upstairs if you give them the chance. They cancel prey by kicking them in the head until they flatline or just lie flat, and their usual targets are snakes,
such a cute
combo
bird.
delivering multiple
But
kicks in a
fucking
time it takes
violent
to
as fuck.
blink, and how disrespectfully accurate they are, all adds up to a 6-piece serpent assault where they spam a river dance on a snake's skull until it caves in, leaving the snake out of order like a reptile dysfunction. You gotta hand it to them, that's pretty metal. Actually, you should do the opposite, since the Kung Fu Crane can apparently shatter the bones in a human hand. And it's not just snakes, secretaries will go after things like cheetah cubs and baby gazelle. I think now is a good time to mention they can be an honest 4 feet tall, with a thigh gap no less. As you can see, they're liable to violate snakes and beauty standards, all while being one of the few birds with 2 pairs of wings, no Red Bull. This high-stepping battery charges with all the smoke, literally, because they'll gather around brush fires just for the opportunity to murk any small animal running for its life. Don't let the pretty privilege distract you. It's an African assassin chicken in thigh boots dressed like a recently divorced mother of 3. And they're not the only ones, because I'll be honest, I low-key forgot this bird existed. This is a Seriama. It's basically a Latin secretary bird, but the real family tree flexes they're the only living relatives of terror birds. Yes, those terror birds. They might be less vertically gifted at less than 2 feet tall, but instead of kicking, Seriamas rather body slam their prey to death. The dinosaur time forgot will grab prey and slam them into the ground or against a rock, repeatedly. They'll spam suplex as many times as it takes for the bones to break. And if you're too big for all that, they'll use the same sickle claw their prehistoric cousins used to hold down prey and disembowel it alive. So if you get targeted by a Seriama, you'll either get the Hulk to Loki treatment, except from a travel-sized terror turkey, eviscerated and violated while pinned by a weaponized toenail, or just swallowed clean like a Vorophile's wet dream. So far, we have a curb-stomping aggro bird and a mob boss build and terror bird final form. And we're just getting started. This is a kite, and before you ask, this was named after the bird, not the other way around. The kite is like the forgotten little brother of eagles and hawks, and like a kite, they catch bodies by hovering above the ground and waiting for movement so they can swoop down and snatch it. I believe kiting is the expression. They're pretty cool. They grief many of the insects that make life slightly less worth living. The 17-year cicada parade is basically their Super Bowl. Like the secretary bird, they too will gather around grass fires, and any animal trying to run from the smoke gets ironically cooked. But Australian black kites take it a step felony by carrying burning twigs and dropping them on patches of grass. An activating arson that got them another name: Firehawks. Apparently this is nothing new, with records of them stealing brands from indigenous cooking fires and dropping them half a mile away. There have even been scientific records of them dropping bread into water to bait small fish, and if it wasn't for this clip, I probably wouldn't believe it. You'd think an aerial arsonist airdropping Inferno in a country that has up to 60,000 wildfires a year would immediately get blacklisted. But no, black kites are protected because, once again, of course a felon with wings is above the law. They're also banned in Boston, but only because we all know Boston can't stand the heat. Now, I have a whole video on owls, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But this is the start of what I was talking about, because you'd normally expect a raptor to be related to other raptors. Instead, the owl's closest relative looks like a Muppet flashlight.
Oh, I love those guys.
What does that? Oh, I can't say that. Owls are predators on incognito, thanks to feathers that allow them to fly almost completely silently. Again, you don't realize how unsettling that is till you go to bed a family and wake up a single mother. They also have a satellite dish for a face and uneven ears, so even under a foot of snow, they can hear exactly where you're about to go. Owls are 100% the closest thing to cryptids with wings, and while they haven't murked people, allegedly, there's plenty of predators that do feed off unsuspecting humans, just like you, including arguably the worst predator of all, data brokers. There's a lot of data brokers that feed themselves by collecting your personal information and selling it to the highest bidder. And it's deeper than selling your browser history to companies wanting to know what to sell you back. Some insurance companies will team up with brokers and actually raise your rates based on what you put out online. Cyber criminals can steal personal info like your social security from a broker, and if you've ever gotten one of those robocalls, I think you know who slid them your number. Yeah, the owls don't seem so bad now. Now, you can email takedown requests to these sites with your info, but 1, there's just way too many and you will get overwhelmed. 2, I don't have a real job and I don't have time for that, so I know you don't. But 3, even if you run the gauntlet, in a week it won't matter because it'll probably be back up there. You're up against a predator that plots incognito, so it's only right that you defend yourself with Incogni, because Incogni will scan the recesses of the internet for your personals and submit takedowns on your behalf. And if a company pushes back and refuses because Honestly, why wouldn't they? Incogni won't let up, and they'll keep checking to make sure you don't get put back in the system. And assuming you survive the aneurysm of finding out just how many people have your information, you can rest easy knowing Incogni basically puts you on a whitelist against predatory brokers. The number of victims of data breaches has gone up over 40% in the last few years, and if you don't want to be a statistic, make sure you go to incogni.com/casualgeo and use the code casualgeo for 60% off an annual plan to guard your private data. Because believe me, if you knew some of the places your info is right now, your head would spin. Kinda like, wait for it. Yeah, there it is. That's what it looks like to get folded by a falcon. You see, falcons are cool, but they're weaker than eagles and hawks, so instead they commit to the fastest hitting runs on Earth. Literally, the fastest. So falcons like the peregrine will start up high and dive, that's called the stoop, and once the flying derecho hits triple-digit miles per hour, they'll ball up their feet like a fist. So yeah, they really do falcon punch their prey into past tense. Didn't even give them time to duck. Not only that, but falcons also have a tomio tooth made specifically to snap spinal cords and send prey to the Lord like Sunday service, all while flying. The one-shot specialist has been known to snipe bald and golden eagles threatening their nest, and there was one time a snowy owl murked a falcon fledgling, so the mother falcon went and life-deprived the owl. There's a lot of ways falcons are built for speed, but the biggest flex is that they have the fastest processing speed of any animal alive. Compared to us, they see the world in slow motion. Falcons are dope, but because of them we have to address the whole raptor thing again. Because instead of hawks, eagles, or any other bird of prey, the missile with wings is most related to parrots. So again, raptor isn't a family name, most of them aren't even closely related. But there are a lot of falcons, like the American kestrel. I like them because they're pretty. Small. The colorway ain't bad either. They also factory reset prey by stabbing them in the back of the head with that tooth, but you can't deny this psychopath's cute. The black-thighed falconet is the smallest bird of prey in the weight class of a sparrow, yet they also find a way to pack up other birds. The pygmy falcon is a nest pirate that often shacks up in the homes of weaver birds. Normally it's a good gig with the pygmies clearing out snakes and lizards, but sometimes they'll switch up and kill their weaver bird roommates, so there's that. But there's another falcon that might just be the biggest bird off of all, and it might also be the most underrated. Next to bad is the caracara. The caracara is a black Air Force parrot. Unlike every other falcon, they'd rather handle business on the ground. They live on honey badger timing, since they'll pull up to a carcass and bully bigger vultures out the way. The crested caracara is a special kind of klepto. They'll straight up mob other birds like pelicans and press them into vomiting their lunch so they can have it. Striated caracaras and the Falklands are a Pennywise level threat to minor safety. You know, raptor comes from the Latin word to seize or take by force. That's what this avian Amber Alert lives by. Caracaras will also link up with each other and form gangs and have honest to God turf wars. Even back in the day, they were on Darwin's radar. In 1830, he mentioned how curious they were, but also how annoying it was to live around a bird that'll steal anything that isn't nailed down. Turns out this affiliated delinquent of a bird is low-key the gifted student of the raptor class, and is even smart enough to solve puzzles for fun. Basically, caracaras are if the peregrine falcon and the secretary bird had a baby, but it was adopted and raised by crows and tutored by the key on weekends. Just an overall underrated menace of a dinosaur, but also a hyper-intelligent, talented opportunist. Actually, I take that back. Vultures might be the most underrated. People assume something with the feeding habits of a casket is a pushover, and they do get their cookies taken by other raptors. But vultures very much can be about that life too, especially since black vultures often won't wait for an animal to expire. They'll put weak, sick, or young animals on a shirt. Some farmers know all too well. Sometimes they'll wait for a cow to give birth just to jump the newborn and return the sender. Sometimes they won't even wait and they'll move on a cow in labor and act like the world's most malicious midwives. Getting violated by vultures means eyes gouged out, tongue torn off, and they'll even break through the back door. Basically the booty warrior of birds, but unlike boondocks, this one's protected by law. From a surgical psychopath to a scavenger. Yet a bearded vulture eats almost nothing but bones, and they've even been known to swallow ones nearly a foot long. But once in a while they'll go after the living, sometimes in the form of airdropping a tortoise hundreds of feet to feed on the insides like a piñata. You know, mountain climbers were so spiritually disturbed by the beardy, they called it the bird of Satan. To be fair, they have a sclera ring around their eyes that fills with blood when stressed and makes their eyes turn bloodshot when running a fade. The Grim Reaper's War King with a whole showering gun activated. I don't blame him, that is demonic character design. Also, a bearded vulture allegedly murked a man with a turtle shell to the head like Mario Kart, which sounds fake, but keep in mind, there's a woman walking around with scars from breaking a porcupine's fall. RNG can be a real ad. All that, and you still can't show me a bird with the harpy eagle's aura. We already mentioned the life-canceling claws that could probably crush your skull, which is why harpy eagles have a prey list of over 116 species. And that includes putting other raptors like Seriamas and vultures on shirts. But don't think for one second nature came out with this and stopped there. The African crowned eagle is basically the harpy of the motherland. Same survival-revoking claws, and same short wings to make it a menace to monkey kind. And they're the only raptor to allegedly see people as prey, with reports of human child remains in nests and the infamous tongue child believed to have been packed up by an African crown. Honestly, any continent outside of Penguin Land has at least one of these eagles. Australian wedgetails go after kangaroos and dingoes, and their territory will enough to fade a $1,000 drone on sight. There was one time a wedgie fought a helicopter and won, past tensing a pilot in the process. RIP. The North American golden eagle has a hit list of prey in the 400s. But really their claim to fame is how they'll give goats a first-class flight to the gulag with no return trip. I'm sorry, this is so disrespectful. Look at this animation. He gave him an NPC death, gave him nothing but time to reflect. There's the Philippine eagle, which honestly mogs the out of everyone for no reason. But there might not be a bigger flex than the stellar sea eagle. You know, if this wasn't on camera, nobody'd ever believe you. It's one of the heaviest eagles on Earth with an 8-foot wingspan. It's an oppressive force in Featherface that's apparently been seen carting off seals. Clearly the meteor told him to take a sick day, cause dog, you're not telling me that's not a dinosaur. And low-key, they might go the same way. For all the harpy hate I was talking, there's no recorded case of a harpy eagle killing or even attacking a human. In fact, it's them not being afraid of humans that can get them put on a shirt by poachers. Add habitat destruction, and if raptors like them aren't endangered, they're at least in danger of being endangered. Which is why you got places like the Raptor Trust in Millington, New Jersey, looking after all kinds of birds from Ollie the kestrel to Virgil the turkey vulture. They got couples too, like Mariah and Thor the golden eagles. They're mad cute together. And of course, a symbol of America, Colonel and Uno. Uno because of the whole one wing thing. And even though they're technically not raptors, I even met Ray the Raven. You know what's crazy? He's in a cage, and he's in a relationship with another wild raven. Like, he'll even sneak food between the bars of his cage for her. You know what's crazier?
Oh, that's
This girl
cute.
has a whole nother family in the wild. I usually don't rock with homewreckers, but I'm rocking with Ray. But like I said, my favorites were definitely the owls, especially this barred owl named Sunny. I think he liked me. Although the vulture's gotta be a close second, since they'll literally walk up and follow you around like a puppy. Oh, this isn't sponsored, by the way. I just had a good time and wanted to shout them out. So if you're ever in the area, the Raptor Trust in Millington, New Jersey, 100% recommended. But that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, forget that. Shout out to Incogni for sponsoring this video. Shout out to the Pigeon Paralysis Demon for sponsoring Imagination. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Alright, friends. Back to ESO. But we'll do this real quick, though.
Oh my god, who are you? All you females said you'd rather be in the woods with a bear than a man, and now look at you. Have fun getting mauled by a bear. Hey, is this guy bothering you? Yeah. Whatever, I'm gonna have fun watching you get torn to shreds. I just ate. I don't really know what you're talking about, but you're being kind of weird. You're a bear. You attack people. I've seen videos of it. Well, you're a man, so you also attack people. A lot more people than I do. And you also attack bears sometimes, okay? I saw the Revenant. Like, I only attack things when I feel threatened or I need to eat. Like, you're foaming at the mouth hoping that I attack her to feel self-righteous. That's weird. And if I did attack her, no one would be like, well, what was she wearing? Was she drunk? This is what she gets for camping. And if I did attack her, people would be hunting me down. They wouldn't be like, well, the bear has a promising future in water polo, so maybe we should be lenient. Why don't you just focus on making yourself the kind of man a woman would choose over a bear? Would you like to be escorted out of the woods? That would be lovely. Oh my god, is that a bear? Well, oh my god, who are you? All you females said you'd rather be in the woods with a bear than a man, and now look at you. Have fun getting mauled by a bear. Hey, is this guy bothering you? Yeah.
1010 would take the bear every fucking time. And why? I met the bear. The bear ran away. Alright, I'll fix the meet the dinosaurs. Give it to BRB and ta-da! And play. Taking forever to let me inside, but let me in. There we go. Work. And now it's daytime in the game.
Still here. Interesting. Try breaking free.
I'm not too worried about it.
Nothing wrong with a little opportunistic harvesting.
It's not opportunistic harvesting, you silly dark elf. Yeah. And then we can murder these guys.
You need
Fish, 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 fish. Alright, more fishing. Give me a good fishy, please. A Jarl Salmon, huh? A wet loony sack.
I don't want to hurt you, but now I'm going to.
Ruining my fishing, bitch. Oops, hit the button too soon. I wish we only screwed and cut something good. God damn it. All the fishing. Alright, and that's all fished out. Dun-dun. Okay, so where's the new spot? Oh, straight up going to Riften. Alright. Let's recall there.
What do you say we try some of the local fare? I'm famished.
Nope. Yeah, it's okay, we'll go right into this one. Alright. Oh, there it is.
fragment. Look at you go.
Yeah, you are. Looks like he turned into a rat.
So much quicker than I was expecting. I thought I'd have to come out and show you where it was. Oh, I'm one step closer to talking to the Griffin again. Oh, the best of friends. He's not the best conversationalist right now, but just wait. When he's back to his normal self, he'll be a joy to talk to. Just one more key fragment to go. Oh, right. Yes. So, I dropped it. I was down by the water taking a drink when a great large cat spooked me. I didn't think cats got that big. I think it's still down there. Find the big cat by the water, and I bet that page will still be there. I believe in you.
Yeah, he's a very big kitty. I understand why you got startled. Right. Here we go. Okay, and then into the delve. I want to see if there's anything to loot down there. Okay, in we go. All right. Toasty in here, just nice and warm. Yeah.
think I'm agreeable.
You are, but imps are just little assholes.
Certain likes a quick study. Was that the last of them? Oh, thank feck.
Wow, it's cold in here. Let's be quick.
Oh, I was gonna get him, but they got him.
That's 3, right? You've really got a knack for this kind of thing. Is it possible? Have you ever been a fox? Where I come from, folks become foxes and foxes become folks. It's a thing. I was just curious. Anyway, you're so close to meeting the Griffin. With this last page, you should have the whole fable put back together. Right! And good timing. All this jumping around has got my paws yelping. You go find your door. I'll head back to the Griffin, and we'll get him talking. Yay! And ding, ding, ding. Here you go.
He's a chocolate boy. I love him. I love him. He's so cute. I kind of want to keep him. But not really, because like foxes IRL are adorable, but they are so loud and so annoying. Like if you want to like do animal rehab, you have to be like extremely dedicated if you're gonna pick foxes, because they can be rough and smelly and alright. Oh, that's so sad. Um, to the door.
This looks ripe for adventure. Maybe a tad overripe.
The Griffin is frozen.
Hey, you made it! Griffin, this is the new friend I was telling you about. They're going to help you out.
What's up, Blue Fox Man, huh? What's up with your buddy?
Welcome to the Wing of the Griffin. As you can see, the Griffin himself isn't quite ready to talk just yet. I've kept him company ever since the library disappeared. I'm not sure if he can hear me in there, but I talk to him every day.
Aw, what happened?
You should have seen him. Wings spread so wide that he could block out the sun. The Griffin was ready to take on Sheogorath all by himself. Ulfsild was the one that stopped him, froze him here like this, to keep him safe. Ulfsild knew that in a fight between a Luminary and a Daedric Prince, the Griffin would lose. He's probably mad at her. But I'm grateful. I don't know what I would do if I didn't still have him around. And now you're here! Ulfsild conjured up a mighty blizzard to freeze him and hung the magic on a ward she left behind. You should be able to dispel it just like you do the other wards. Just so you know, he might be a little grumpy. Sorry in advance.
No, that's fair. That's fair. He's been frozen for thousands of years.
Whoa. Easy. It's me. Remember? The fox.
I remember you, my friend. Don't worry. I just been holding that in a long time. Mortal, greetings and defiance. My companion has clearly adopted you, but then he's always seen the best in people. Why should I stay my claws? I have been trapped here for a very long time, mortal. I did not feel the full passage of time, but I know it's been many years. I know Ulfsild is dead, and I know what happened to Ivea. Truly? Impressive to think you may have bested the Daedric Prince of Nonsense. You have a Luminary's apology, mortal. This has not been an easy awakening. Once, my feathers were armor, my talons cut stone, and my beak could rend the sky itself. Ah, focused, driven. You remind me of Ulfsild, but I suppose that's to be expected. Give me a moment to gather my thoughts, mortal. Place the fable upon the dais, and if you want, speak to my companion. He'll be eager to chat, no doubt.
Doop, 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 doop. Okay.
Poor guy. Look at how tense he is. Don't worry, he's a really good person when he's not mad about being frozen solid for centuries.
I mean, that's fair.
It's so good to be able to stretch my limbs, to breathe deep again. I need to go flying soon to truly shake off this chill. But first, we have business, you and I. The other luminaries concern themselves with challenges, riddles, frippery, and dalliance. If you wish to earn my trust, my strength, know it takes heart to protect, to shield those that do not have the strength to defend themselves.
I do it all the time.
I chose to be a bulwark against the hordes, and I'll ask you to do the same. I will summon a list of safeguard tasks. Complete the ones that appeal to you. I will rally my strength, and we will see what happens next. Injustice did not rest while I slumbered. Your time will be well used on these tasks, and while you are gone, the fox and I will have some time to catch up. I missed him dearly. He is loyal, perhaps to a fault, a quality that we both share. When we first met, he was attempting to save a life, and I felt compelled to intervene. Just another creature to protect, sheltering beneath my wings. I would call what we have a partnership, if he had any interest in making decisions.
You know, I can get it.
And unless I'm mistaken, I would not be talking to you today, if not for him.
No, that's true.
Our differences, I think, do not weaken us, but instead make us stronger. I act as a shield for the weak. He aids me in my calling, and we enjoy our time together. What else would you ask for in a companion? In a friend? I am not so old as the Indrik, not so young as the Netch. I was born from another's death. A great sage who stood against a terrible enemy and burned them out from within. A mighty and beautiful spell that cost them their life. The casting required a lengthy ritual, a vast pool of magicka, built day upon day, only to rush forth into a great flood. When the dam burst, there was still a great reservoir left behind, one that coalesced, distilled into me. Elves have carved the shape of winged beasts since before mankind existed. I am a symbol, and top of mind or not, symbols have meaning. So I am the Griffin, sharp of talon and beak, wings to block the sun, justice incarnate.
Fair enough.
The circumstance of my existence is strange, to say the least, but my power, my strength is a gift. From Magnus, from Aetherius, choose as you will. That is a gift that I could honor, or I could squander. I choose the path of honor. I believe it is what we choose to do that defines us, not where or how we are born. When I see cruelty against the weak, when I know my gifts can make a difference, I step in. How could I not?
You know what? Fair enough. I actually get that actually a lot. I get myself in a lot of stupid situations because I'm like, hey! Okay, okay. Alright. Ooh, nice. I got some ivory. Ivory is great. We like ivory. Ooh, companion spell. Come here, pet.
Something you need to discuss?
There we go.
Got plenty of goods. You have more shinies than...
Hello, peddler baby. Fillet all the fishies. Nice. I somehow picked up Luminous Ink and I don't remember doing it, but that's okay.
That fox came around, and he's maybe the sweetest person I've met in years.
Who would have thought a Daedric creature could be like that?
It'd be unbecoming of a knight like myself to advise on Thieves' Guild happenings. So I definitely won't tell you to look for heist jobs at the Den and a Bar's Landing. You'd have to be more than a petty thief to get access to jobs like that.
Oh, trust me, I am far more than a petty thief, darling. But we don't have to tell the Mages Guild that.
If this fox really was a friend of Ulfsild's, you'd think she'd have taught him not to deface books. Sorry, did you need something? I've heard whisper of liches in dungeons. Places like Fanglair, Crypt of Hearts, and the Vaults of Madness. Probably not a good idea to go alone. Don't look at me, though. I've got to make sure that fox fellow doesn't go after more books.
Hey, he was only going after the books because he wanted to protect his friend. Wrong one. Hello, Crow.
The fox was able to leave the griffin's side at any time, but I wonder how much he did. You've done a kind deed today. Lost Prospect, yes. I believe the land he speaks of is just east of Riften. Foxroot is exceedingly rare, an herb used in clever magic. Ulfsild often sent the fox on errands to retrieve it. Its scent must remind the griffin of her.
I'm glad we got the pest problem from earlier sorted. Laren and Julian had me crawling under the most awful and dusty places looking for rats, spiders, you name it. No more of that, thank you very much.
Fair enough.
Let's see. Cyrodiil. War-torn indeed. These Ayleid ruins are more or less equal distance around Lake Rumer, and no matter who holds what, you'll likely be crossing enemy territory. I'd try to hide or run, but you may prefer to fight.
Not really. I kind of suck at PvP. I mean, but those creatures do exist. Hey, harpies are real as fuck. They will fuck you up. Oh, but you are so wrong, old man. So wrong.
Julian and I placed bets on what the pest would turn out to be. Turns out we were both wrong, which really is the second best option to being right. Did you need my help with something? I'm not normally one to advocate pickpocketing, but I know of these merchants in the Rift. You can find them in Riften, Nimulton, and Shaw's Stone. Make them sorry for promising miracles from their overpriced cure-alls. Just don't get caught.
Alright, I was thinking that was going to be one of them. I don't like cheats.
You're heading to Lost Prospect. Skip it.
Why?
Nobody who goes there ever comes back. It's crawling with zombies.
Just rumors. If that was true, the Watch would take care of it.
The Watch has bigger problems. Like that giant. I'd avoid Lost Prospect if I was you.
Okay, they're not giving me a name though. Oh, aha!
Oh no. I must have left it at the shop.
Good. Oh, I'm only pickpocketing one of them? I wanted to pickpocket all of them. Bastards. There's a way.
Can never have enough of that.
Hmm. Okay, that's getting very annoying that it keeps doing that to me. I'm not getting my marbles drops. Oh, darlings, though, I'm going to tap out. It is, it's about midnight, and I do have some things to do tomorrow. Because we got to, I gotta slowly start, like, helping get things cleaned up around here for rain inspection on the 21st. So, and the schedule's gonna be kind of wonky because of said inspection and how we have to plan things. But I'll let you guys know as I learn things. What the schedule ended up being like. Alright, as per the usual, darlings, be good, be kind, make good choices. Don't really think too crazy.